Hello all and welcome to another Winged Review. Now, long ago, Justin over on Super Productions recommended I watch one of his favourite series, Yu Yu Hakusho, and I'd never heard of it, so I thought, what the hell, give it a go. So I started to watch it, and then over on Super Productions, we started to do an in-depth analysis and critique of the series. I'll put a link to part 1 in the description. The problem is we didn't actually get any further than part 1. We did have part 2 sort of all recorded and ready to go, but it just never got edited together and uploaded or anything, so all we've got is the part 1. We have had several plans to get back into doing it, but none of them have ever ended up actually coming through. So, because I was sort of watching the series, not wanting to go too far ahead, so that when we did the analysis, it was so long ago that I'd forgotten what happened, so I kind of left it and then never got back into it because we didn't do the critique. But then, as it had been about 4 years, I thought I might as well just watch it because it was good. I enjoyed it, never finished it, so I restarted the arc that I'd stopped, and then the other day I finished the series. So I'm just going to do a very brief overview and critique, sort of, and have a look at the 4 main arcs that are part of the series. I think it's the Spirit Detective, Dark Tournament, and I can't remember the other 2, so I'll just call them the Dark Hole and then the final one. So. Overall, I did enjoy the series. It had a few issues, but I'll get onto those as I go through the individual arcs themselves. So I'm just going to go through the 4 arcs one by one, and then I'll just chat about them. So it starts off with the Spirit Detective arc. The main character, Yusuke, he's a kind of a high school student, bit of a dropout, doesn't turn up, gets into fights, blah blah blah, usual malarkey. He gets killed in a car accident. There's a bit more to all of this, I'm just briefly summing up. But because he wasn't meant to die when he goes to the spirit realm, they don't know what to do with him, so they send him back to Earth as a spirit detective, and he works on taking care of the demons. We have the spirit realm, the demon realm, then our realm. So any demons that come over into our realm, he gets sent to deal with them, and that's what the first main arc is all about, just him going off and doing all these things. It mainly is there to introduce the other 2 main characters, Hiei and Kurama. Kurama was my actual favourite character from the entire series. Oh, there's a mic there. Justin said that Kurama was his second favourite. I don't actually know, I didn't ask him because he said that his favourite character was introduced quite late, and I hadn't come across him at the time, so I don't know who his was. But Kurama was mine. So it's mainly there, they introduce, he goes off, he deals with some demon stuff, he gets taught how to use some of his abilities, and that's a bit because, spirit energy, blah, 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 so, it's same old, really, there's nothing special to it, but because of what goes on and some of the stuff that he does, he gets noticed by demons, and he starts to get a bit of a name for himself, and he ends up getting invited to take part in the Dark Tournament. There's a guy, Toguro, he's like a really powerful person. He's looking for someone who can actually defeat him, because where he's so strong, fights are just boring now, and he thinks Yusuke could be the person to actually be a challenge. So he invites Yusuke to take part in the tournament. You need a team of 5, so he brings Hiei, Kurama, Kuwabara, who's one of the people who keeps getting into fights with at the school, and Genkai, who's like the person who's teaching him how to control his spirit energy, blah blah. So the 5 of them take part in the Dark Tournament, and it's like you'd expect for a tournament. You get a fight, some chatting, some stuff happens, another fight. It did introduce some quite cool characters, I will give that, and some of the fights were rather interesting, but as with most tournament-y type things, it is just fight after fight after fight, and it does get a little bit repetitive, but it was still entertaining. The series, by this point, did have a very bad habit of Deus Ex Machina. There'd be a situation, it's like, how the hell are they going to get out of this one? And then they just pull some random move out their arse that's never been heard of, seen of, mentioned, nothing. They just do it, and it goes off, oh, that works, lovely jubbly, let's carry on for the next one. So it does kind of get a little bit anticlimactic when you're wondering how they're going to get out of it, and it's just another random move that they just did. Woo. So they just do that quite a few times. But even so, there's some good characters, a few laughs, a few interesting fights. So it wasn't a bad arc, really. There is a bit of a backstory with, because in Toguro's team, they're led by this rich blokey, and his plan is Toguro is the champion from the previous tournament, and with the money he won from that tournament and what he'll win from this tournament, he's actually planning on opening up a tunnel between the demon realm and the human realm, so that essentially demons are free to come and go between the realms, and he's going to let the demons take over the human realm just because it would make the human realm more interesting. So that's what he's planning on doing. You can probably guess how it all ends. It's not exactly... I'm not going to do any massive spoilers with this, really. I will have to say a few things just because where the events from one arc sort of do roll over into the next one or set things up. So I will need to spoil some things, but I won't actually directly come out and spoil major stuff as much as possible. But in the... so you have the Dark Tournament, you know, things happen and there's fights and it's good. But then once the tournament's over, it then goes into the demon hole, where the hole that the bloke was trying to open is starting to be opened. And this arc was my favourite arc of the lot. I loved this arc. It ended badly, but as a general arc, I was absolutely gripped with this. Because of the demon energy coming out from the demon realm, people had started to get their own powers. And whereas normally if there was a problem, Yusuke would just run up and kick him in the nuts hard enough to hope that they decide to give up. But because of people's new abilities, he can't do that anymore. Like, you have one guy... they create, I think they call it a territory, and if you're in the territory, then whatever ability they have is in effect. And there's this one guy, when you go into his territory, he can pick a word, and if you say that word, then your soul gets essentially taken from you. And he also makes it so that all violent acts, so punching, kicking, sword fighting, and all that, are null and void. They don't have any effect. So Yusuke going in and trying to punch him wouldn't work. He has to try and find a way to defeat him in a different way. And with some of the other characters as well, some of the abilities that they gained from this were quite unique, you could say. And it made for some such really interesting... The Game Master one, there's this little kid, he makes games become real, which sounds really good, but because the game is real, the consequences are real as well. And with what happens, I was gripped by this. It was such a good series. The only time it then went downhill was during the final confrontation with main big bad guy, because the fight was so drawn out. I think it was something like 10 episodes for this fight. The other stuff was happening, but I think the fight happened. Then after 6 episodes, I think it looked like he'd won, Yusuke had won, so it was all yay. But then no more than 2 episodes later, it turned out he wasn't dead, and the fight carried on for another couple of episodes, and I just got bored. I didn't actually get bored, but it was just a case of, for God's sake, hurry up. It was almost one of those, they do this sort of whole, I'm too powerful, you can't defeat me. Yes, I can do this. So he does it, you think he's won the day, and then it's, I've not been using my full strength. Ha ha ha, here is my more strength. Boomf, more strength. They do some more fighting, and then it's, I can't beat him, I'd have to do something else. I know, does something else, thinks he's won. He hasn't won, and he just does that over and over and over again, and it's just, oh God. So it did get a little bit monotonous, but eventually, it did come to an end, and it went on to the, because of things that happened, it turned out at the end, again, minor spoiler, but I need to say this because of the next arc, it turns out that Yusuke's dad is a high-powered demon from the demon realm, and when he finds out Yusuke, other reasons as well, Yusuke decides to go and find him in the demon realm. He goes, finds his dad, and then it turns out that there are 3 main powerful demons in the demon realm, and they are the 3 powers of the demon realm. They have their own town, but all 3 of them want to try and defeat the other 2 so that they can control everything. Problem is, if one of them attacks one of them, because it's going to be such an intense battle that even the winner will be so badly beaten that the other one will come in and defeat them, so none of them want to make the first move because they're not going to win overall anyway. So it's kind of at a stalemate, but they're just waiting for something to happen. And so what made this even better was that Yusuke was with one, but then Kurama went with another, and then Hiei went with the other, they know each other, or they get called something, blah blah. So you actually have the three friends on opposing sides, and I was really looking forward to almost like an all-out war, and there's stuff happening, and this really big. It didn't happen. Yusuke ended up suggesting a tournament, another tournament, and as soon as they said that, I was like, I get why they did it. Yusuke is not a strategist; he doesn't know how to do war, and having a war would cost thousands of millions of lives, and a tournament would make it a lot more simple. Yeah, fine, I get it, but we just had a tournament. We had the Dark Tournament. We don't need another tournament. So it was another tournament. Luckily, some of the characters I was hoping to make a return did make a return. They didn't really do much, but they were there. That was fun. But it was just another bloody tournament. And again, I did start to get a little bit bored. I mean, yes, there were some really epic fights, but it did have the whole Deus Ex Machinas, the you can't beat me, yes I can, rah type thing. So I just got a little bit bored with it by that sort of thing, because it was just another sort of, and yeah, it kept me going. I was interested enough to see what was going to happen next, but I wasn't gripped particularly. Certainly not as much as I was with the previous arc with the abilities and all that sort of thing, because that was absolutely amazing. So it did kind of end on a bit of a slump, and then with the actual sort of finale, it kind of ended a bit. Yeah, it was a nice enough ending, but it didn't exactly rivet. I sort of watched it, and rather than going, oh my god, that was so awesome, it was just sort of like that's that finished then. So it kind of ended on a bit of yeah. So it's a bit of a disappointment, but I enjoyed the series. I don't think I enjoyed it quite as much as Justin likes it. I think he watches it sort of every now and again. He loves the series, and I don't think I will watch it again. If we start doing the analysis again, then I'll probably just read up overviews on Wikipedia or something like that. I don't think I would actually sit and watch the entire series again for that, really. I'd probably do the opening of the Demon Realm again, because that was really, really good. But other than that, I certainly wouldn't watch it all the way through again or anything. So I would, if you're interested in giving it a watch, give it a watch. It is entertaining enough to see it all the way through. Justin absolutely loves it. I enjoyed it, just I don't think it would be in my top 5 favourite animes of all time. I haven't seen that many, but it still wouldn't be in my top 5. So it's a bit of a disappointment. But even so, it's not a bad anime. It's entertaining enough. It's got some good characters, some good laughs, some good fight scenes. There's just better ones out there, that's all. So on the whole, I enjoyed it. See you next time.